I had really no vision or dream of civil services at all till 1 year post my finishing of my post. But actually later I learned that she was knowing that I wouldn't have any food, I didn't carry any food box to school. Yes, with Srinivas Murthy only when he gave the books and he said you can also get through. My mother said, I learned that you are an IAS officer, I just wanted to see you. My son is trying to prepare for civil services examination. So I wanted to see how an IAS officer looks like. Landed in Delhi, I could understand that I am entering into a new world. I didn't know about whether I get selected or not. You will be surprised. His name is Ashok Dalwai. He belongs to 1984 batch. So Ashok Dalwai was the first one to mentor. I saw, surprisingly, I found out my name. I came running to my house. I told my mother, Amma, nanik pass aaytu. Aga nam tayi hedru, inmel neen nanik maga alla. Means she said, you are no longer my son. And by the time I went back to the home, she would have already asked. So I knocked on the door. She was about 3.5 years. She opened the door and told my wife, Amma, yaro uncle bandidare. Some uncle has come. So, a poor person is entitled to get a borewell's key. You give it to him. There's no power. Carrying out my duty. If you are giving it to a rich man, then you have a power. And that is not what you want to be proud of. So that's a very funny side. Of course, I don't know whether others will agree with me. But I found it very funny.
It's very, very meaningful when you put it across in that manner. When you say power is actually power when you want to misuse it. And otherwise you're doing your work, it is routine and
duty.
That's your responsibility.
That's your duty and responsibility.
Welcome back. This is for the second session that we are having with Dr. C.S. Kedar. And as promised in the first part, we will start with a song. He's a singer by choice, by passion. So let's listen to Dr. Kedar.
Actually, by compulsion also I am a singer because that's one of my de-stressing. You can't suddenly go to a swimming pool if you are upset. And you can't go to a shuttle court also suddenly. But singing anywhere, sitting. Like you asked me now to sing, I can sing. See, when I used to be, not that I used to be, even now, in Delhi, when all the people used to assemble, aspirants from Karnataka. I think we were still Kannadigas there. I had met Srinivas, so we were little more organized. So every year we used to organize and people they knew that I was a singer. So they used to ask me to sing and they wanted only this song because they had learned. This had become almost like an anthem for me and Srinivas, aspirants in Delhi. Tapadama Risarida Marisadama Mapadama Pamari Ide ragadalli, ide taladalli, ide ragadalli, ide taladalli, radegagi hadida neelamega shama, ide ragadalli, ide taladalli, radegagi hadida neelamega shama. Ide ragadalli Ayamunayalli. I think I forgot. I think I haven't sung for quite some time.
Okay. That still was very, very melodious. Something that we will always relish to hear from you, sir. So, before getting into the serious part of if I should poke a little into it. So we know that this Rama has a Sita with you. So if was there at the point of time there was a Krishna within you and there were people and that somewhere you were interested in through your early life, if I can ask that question personally?
This is my opinion, whether people agree or not. One, if you want to be sincere and honest, number one. Number two, you want to deliver. You can be just honest and sincere, but you need not deliver. But if you want to deliver also, and you want to be effective, Krishna has to be 80%, 20% has to be Rama. Rama has to be front-end. Krishna has to be back-end. ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಳಬೇಕು ಅಂದರೆ you have to be like a jackal, ಗುಳ್ಳೆನರಿ. You must be always know how to get things done, because you are dealing with men, people, your own colleagues, your subordinates, every type of people. You want to deliver, you have to be always intelligent. And you have to ensure that how can you get over a situation without fighting. Right? Because you cannot waste your energy and resources on fighting if you can, like a Krishna, get through the whole thing. And then you convey your image to people, how it is being done. I don't want to give you situations, but I can give you situations how you can fool around people to ensure that you are still popular and you don't do what they want. You have to. Otherwise, I don't think you can get things done, because it's a public milieu in which you are. You have to be Krishna. Front end has to be Rama, and you have to be Rama, and you should show that you are Rama. But in your calculations, it's very, very important to get things done. And when you look back, you must feel happy. If I look back at, for example, you are asking the Hungary bridge that I completed, the water supply scheme, Ballari, languishing for 17.5 years. I don't think Rama would have ever completed. It was only Krishna who completed. But the front end was a Kedar who is a saint. Some people and politicians, I don't want to name them, big people, they told me later on that they used to call me sannyasi, married sannyasi, Madhve Ada sannyasi. So that was a front end. You must be very, very, very careful.
That's very interesting, sir. That leads us to our next question. So, generally among youth and the young aspirants who come in, this question about idealism versus realism is always there. So, there are a lot of civil servants who are in public seem to be facing brickbats, seem to be facing personal setbacks because they are very ideal, following all rules up to the nail. One very senior IAS officer in Haryana has faced more than 53 transfers in his life till now, and he's open about it in public also. So the natural question is, should I stick to rules and perform? Or there are other set of civil servants who also are good performers, but they adapt themselves to the situation and perform. So, which side the balance tilts more? Idealism, realism?
It comes to your idealism in your personal life, your behavior, your conduct. You have to be an idealist. You have to be an idealist. When you are implementing a project, if you are doing the public work, you have to be realistic. I know it's a very, not a good example, but still worth it. As Bangalore DC, I was in charge of all the cinema theatres. Even today, all cinema theatres are coming under Deputy Commissioner. So in the morning, you go and inspect Kalpana Talkies. I had to do annual inspection. So I go. Evening, there is some movie called Teja. My kids wanted, as I told you, I had learned to be a little more lenient with my kids. They wanted to go and see. So I have no car. I did not have a car of my own. Even today, I don't have, fortunately. So I don't know, fortunate or unfortunate. I don't know. I feel fortunate or I don't have a car. I used to take my government car for Teja. So the moment I leave my house, go back, I used to record it in my, they call that logbook. Find out the kilometers for 1 rupee 80 paisa per kilometer. There is a government order that if you don't own a car, if you use it for your personal purpose, you have to pay the money. there is some limitation, etc. Now, I know somebody may say that this is something. My first fellow to be always surprised is my own Belliyappa, my driver. But it has to be. Now, I know that by paying that much money doesn't. Two things will happen. For Rama, it's an idealism. I didn't want to take, I don't like anybody to use public property with their personal things. That is where Rama comes. Krishna. I could have put that money into a hundi. Right? No. I want that my driver will know that I am not using my government car for my private. My PA comes to know that I have paid the challan. Because logbook, my driver will say, please put it. And then when they talk to somebody else, I don't stop them. Because as Krishna, I want people to know that I am a Rama. Because that helped me a lot dealing with politicians. Politicians would be surprised. So, as a Rama, I used to go for field visits right from 8 o'clock in the morning in Bangalore, then come back late in the evening. I work hard, as I told you, my off balance. So, sometime, MLAs also, they were so happy they wanted to come. And Basavalingappa used to insist that he should come. Then I used to tell, look, if you want to come with me, we go out and then after some inspection, you come back to city, have a food in an IB and go back. Hardly you will have enough time. So I used to carry some bun, biscuit, bread. Once in a while, one banana or apple. And I used to say that I will eat it here. Because whichever village, there will be some water place, So if politicians want to come, and my other colleagues also used to bring their own food. I used to tell this one. So you should bring your own food. Second, you should not go to anybody's house. Because if you go to our house, then 2 hours they will lay down all 5 course lunch, etc. Time waste. We can't deliver anything. So they used to bring their own food. And Abdul Samad was the health minister. He was Ramnagara constituency. I was AC Ramnagara, my first posting. And Haji Munir was the municipal president. Actually, he is the father-in-law of our KS officer who got promoted to IAS. So, now, Abdul Samad wanted to, he was a minister. So, one day he brought some, he said, sir, it's a very good cake, you must eat. I said, no, your food is yours, my food is mine. We don't share. So such messages go across easily. People will come to know that you are very, very sincere. Now, as a Rama, when somebody in Ramnagaram subdivision, Channapatna, etc., you go, lots of coconut. The moment anybody goes for an inspection, as AC you go for land revenue inspection, they will cut coconut and give it to you. You accept it. After all, he is giving you water. That's some kalpa uksha God. You must accept it. No problem. You can take. But as Krishna, you should know that he will not cut only one. 100, because behind you there is Tasildar, there will be BDO, there will be engineers, there will be revenue inspector. The poor farmer would have given you 100. That calculation comes to Krishna. So I had told people that I am allergic to coconut, I will not drink.
If we are not.
That's a Krishna which is untruth. As a Rama, you can't tell them. I used to say I am allergic. If you refuse, they feel it as an insult. So I told I am allergic to. So nobody used to cut. Not one. Now all 100 are stopped because others cannot. So something, a balance, something, and to do good for public, you have to work hard. Don't think that you can do, I am IAS, I will go on. You have to think a lot.
So, very interesting Krishna Rama analogy that we are carrying forward, sir. So, if I have to bring in politicization into the idea, so largely what is the current scenario of how there is a lot of political misuse, that message that comes in. So, it is more to do with how a civil servant's conduct of himself being Rama to the public face. That is also dependent and decisive in terms of how the politicians would treat you. So that's what I gather from what you say. Am I right, sir?
You are. To keep your personal life very clean as a Rama, but ensure that people will come to know that you are Rama. I remember one minister, he always gets his work done. Once he called me when I was Bangalore DC. Of course, I am always humble with everybody. There's no need to show. He spoke to me for 10 minutes only asking me about my wife and myself and my children. Actually, I know next day I was to go for a spot inspection in Wheels and it was a very tough case. I know that he was calling. I know that as Krishna I know. Ultimately, he didn't want to tell. Finally, I said, sir, why did you call me? Then he finally said, anyhow, you will do according to the rules here. No need of telling. And they put the phone. But for that, you have to make a lot of personal sacrifices. You can't just do good things without doing personal sacrifices. To an extent, even today, if you are too good, people value you. Maybe to what extent has it, they allow people to do one, so long as you are very good. I agree with you. You are summing up this good.
So, now to the idea of ethics, even in current day situations and to your experience, how much role does ethics play in decision making? And how effective is ethical decision making in the contemporary scenario?
If you want to ask me my ethics, I told you my personal life has been very clean and I always, if there's a case coming between Prashant and one more person, all things being equal, I would like to help out the person who is poorer. So to that extent, ethics will not come in my way. So even if there's a 1% little more that you had to have in favor, I'll go for that person. So to that extent, I don't want to claim because I've been little more pro. So to that extent, ethics is something that if you stick by that and if you are able to convince people that you are ethical, your life will be a little easier in service. Easier. But when the society, now there's a problem. I don't want to belittle so many people with whom in fact, I always say that they have journeyed with me in the last 30, 40 years where I have mentored a lot of people. After I met Srinivas, I have done it in a bigger scale and with an organizational structure. Earlier, I used to be a one-man effort. So, the demands are more, people are more vocal in calling. And when you want to be ethical, people will become impatient. Obviously, you must be willing to face that people will be impatient. So, to that extent, I think in our generation, impatience generally in the society was slightly less. Now, people are less patient and they want things to happen very, very fast. It's difficult because let's understand what are you up to. Basically, a government, according to me, is not just doing certain things. It also has to bring social transformation. It has to bring in social mobility. And third, it has to help what we call loosely downtrodden. how you enable them also. So building a enabling environment. So when those are the things, impatience doesn't match them. For example, I told you about, we gave some few borewells and we made them, and then I went there and ate there. See, please understand, it's not just doing borewells. You are bringing some social transformation. The people who are not farmers earlier, who are considered as pure SC/STs, you are making them to own an asset. Second, they are producing something and contributing to the society. And by you going and eating, you are recognizing the fact that is your building. Of course, I had a very difficult problem, but I overcome in difficult another way. I always had a habit that whatever I used to eat, I used to give the money. Now a farmer gives you. So how do you give them money? But without that, I don't do it. I can't do it. So I used to give some little more money than I can't value. Whatever was my capacity, I used to say, this is my wife and my blessing. Of course, if I tell that it is for government, probably he would beat me up into parliament. In fact, one more interesting thing that you are asking about Rama and Krishna, it's very, very crystal clear. When I was Ramanagaram AC, in Chenpatna I had two, I don't mind naming them because I think it's, without naming them it doesn't. There used to be an MLA called D.T. Ramu. Used to be an MLA, he used to be a teacher for his earnings, for livelihood. So people used to call him minister. I also used to call him minister. So he used to be the MLA. And we had TDB president Shivramaya. Of course, both are from different parts. Shivramaya from Janata, this fellow from Bharat. But when development projects going along, we always used to. We sat together and we said that three of us are very, very good at. You can say our bandwidth was matching. So we decided that people used to give it for school. Government used to give money for schools with a tiled roof. We thought that during our period we will have everything as RCs, not tiles. So additional money needed, we wanted to mobilize from people. So our first effort was, there's a village called Vandarguppe, opposite police training school, in the Chenpatna road, PTS, opposite that Vandarguppe. So I remember the president was L.V. Gowda. So three of us went, myself, MLA and TDP president. We tried to convince and we wanted L.V. Gowda to put his first money so that others. So they didn't. I got angry. My salary used to be 700 those days. Believe it. You have to keep it in it. I took out, fortunately I had 100 rupees on that day in my pocket. I took it and kept it. And I told Shivramaya, no fun in asking. I'll put my money. Then D.T. Ramu put 100 rupees. Shivramaya put 100 rupees. Shivramaya was actually a civil contractor of P&T. He's a rich man, but he came over to politics to do something very thought. Of course, he left after my ACC. I learned that he went back to civil engineering. So he had more money. So then others, they put all their money and then they insisted that we should take back our money, etc. L.V. Gowda was really let down. Somebody, some IAS who is nothing to do with this place. So I said nothing to do. We all collected and then we decided. Now we were knowing that this will happen. Then after we left, we are going back. We are going to next village. Shivramaya had collected that cash before putting it to TD Ramu. He gave me back my 100. He gave back DT Ramu 100. He said, sir, your salary, you will probably last 1 week, you won't eat money. And this fellow doesn't have money even to eat for one day. I don't know where he got 100. They were quarreling as politicians, but as persons, so he gave back. But then we came to an understanding. Wherever we go, we quarrel like this. I'll put 100. Rama puts 100. Then Shivaramaya put 500. Then all others villagers will put. But Shivaramaya used to keep the money. He was a reasonably rich man. So, as Rama, I contributed, but as Krishna, I continued his scheme. You will be surprised. All those 70 schools we built during 2 years of my tenure, everything was only IAS. So, realism, idealism, something, I don't know, what do you want to call me? Good man, bad man, jackal, whatever. I am happy, but ultimately I got it done.
So, that is a lot of inspiration, sir, in terms of how the works were carried. Now, to the last point of ultimately I got it done. So, there is this Gandhian debate that generally happens, and that's something that in ethics...
We all got it done. I
Yes,
think
sir.
that is wrong, because I told you that we always should ensure. And one thing I always told you that one of the things I used to tell my PAs that my name should not come anywhere. Now that I have retired, I can tell you behind the scene dramas. But otherwise, one thing is very sure. And none of those foundations are finishing. I never used to go. And I told them, I don't want to take credit, because if I take a credit, both of you quarrel, go and quarrel. You take credit, but I never used to. In the morning, my name is not there in the newspaper. Because those days, fortunately, other medias were not there, on which I could have won. So always I ensured. In fact, once MP Prakash was so angry, he wanted me to come for that Hagari Bridge in Bellary. So I always never I told him, you have to take credit, but he wanted this. He insisted, no, it's not like you can't become a sannyasi. Then I applied medical leave and came out and got admitted to boarding hospital. In the function, he was telling the man who worked very hard, he deliberately applies medical leave, goes and admits himself to a hospital. But still, I want him to know that I am giving credit to him.
So, I must tell this on record that Dr. Kedar is known that during his services, he was not anywhere on stage, and if he was compelled to be in the program, he was always in the last row of the program. That's how other of his colleagues remember him to be.
If you talk to any of my colleagues, they know that I used to be preferably first in the audience, last row in the audience. If at all I am compelled. Like sometime you have to accompany CM for protocol purposes, I used to sit there. I don't want to be seen. I felt that I have to be felt rather than seen. And I am happy that felt.
So, to this question specific to ethics, sir. So, the Gandhian debate is about means and ends, sir. So, when you say the work got done, so as a civil servant, what is more important, sir? Is the means more important, or is the ends more important? Or both? Or how do we deal with this dilemma that we get into?
Tricky question. There has to be a balance, maybe the most tricky one. Okay. Very difficult to tell it it's not a black and white, it's a grey area. One thing is, first is your end should be public purpose, it should serve the people, and it should be very clear that it should be reaching the poor people. That's something that is very clear. Now, as far as means are concerned, it should not be criminal. It should not be hurting somebody else. And I can't say that I didn't little bit maneuver around. I had to get it done. I'm sorry. We
get that point very clearly, sir. So when we have done a lot of idea about Rama and Krishna, so that is very well conveyed. To the last question in this part specific to ethics, sir. Now, corruption is a very, very big issue in today's day. And we have done a lot of talking about that. But where do you think the solution lies, sir? Does the solution lie with the citizen? Does the solution lie with the government? Or does the solution lie with the judiciary? Because everything goes back to the judiciary today. Or is there a role of a bureaucrat or a civil servant that also can be done?
Two things that, not even two, one. If you look at anywhere a discretion comes, or to put more precisely, what we call bottleneck comes, that's the point at which you start getting things done. Of course, being a civil servant, you always go back. We used to have like skill development in my period as Bijapur specialties. We used to have something called TRISEM, Training Rural Youth for Self-Employment. The concept was the rural people will come to Taluk headquarters. They are trained either in an institution or a master trainer. And they are supposed to get monthly stipend to put their soul and body together. Then they are living for 6 months in the town. So, one thing is when you must travel a lot if you are in any post, wherever possible, you must talk to people. Possibly on your own you can go. You can always ask your people to be away from you. Just go. You say, I want some privacy. You won't talk to people. So, I learned that I was thinking that they must have got last month's stipend. That is what, as an innocent fellow, you. Then I came to know that even the previous batch, the batch previous to that also had not got it. So, then I understood the whole system, why it is. At that time, Vijay Bhaskar was a probationer in Bijapur. I asked him to work out if everybody sincerely works without even using the word corruption. He worked out that it needs 174 working days under the existing system for a fellow to get working days. So obviously, every month getting stipend is out of the question. So I reformed the system. I don't want to explain too. And then theoretically, first I brought it down to 4 days. That possible that in theory it can go. Now, actually, in process, it happened in 7 days. There's a concept of decentralized work, then the concept of DBT, direct benefit transfer, direct cash transfer. Lots of things I built it into the system. So, a system approach can fight the corruption. Now, it used to come and all used to accumulate in front of one person called X. I don't know whether I should name or not, but possibly if you want, I can name also. It doesn't matter. Long ago. So, if the piles of stipend papers used to come and stay with one person, then he has a discretion which to take up early, which to take later. Right? And that too, if the waiting period is 127 days, then nobody can ask him. So, the moment we brought the new system, there was no piling of it anywhere. So, this man lost his importance, or what you call power. Systems started taking. And in fact, Vijay Bhaskar and I both have prepared a case study. It is still now in Missouri. No question, there was no computers, there was no laptop, no mobiles those days. We could achieve it. 4 days in theory, but 7 days, they used to get it. They used to get it before 10th of that month. And there was nobody to touch the cash. Money sticks. So, if you remove money, handing over from one person to one person to one person, that's the first thing. Second, systems which can move. Systems, discretion, and non-cash transactions, and interface. These are the 4 things. In small way, in everywhere you can do the system. So, if you are a systems man, you love working in government, ensure that. And we also ensure that the entire special DC office, we used to call it District Rural Development Agency. We used to claim ourselves as a 24-hour office. Even today, some of the things that where you are seeing the systems as clean is where the discretions have been taken. Case by case versus systems. In public life, case by case is not good one. Systems is a better one.
That's very nicely put, sir. So if we have to understand, the idea is about maximum governance, more system orientation, reducing the
system
manual
orientation rather than individual governance. System governance and discretion replacing systems, decision.
Great, sir. So we'll now come to more of the contemporary scenario in terms of civil services. So what is one trend that is catching up in the last few years specifically is about civil servants resigning very early in their career, pursuing an alternate career in politics, in business. Some of them are getting into entrepreneurship and different fields of their choice, resigning very early in their career. So why do you see this trend on an uptick? And civil servants getting into politics specifically can send messages of different kinds. So what do you have to say about it, sir?
One thing that I have noticed, because I have been mentoring for the last 30-35 years in a more involved way, and of course since 2006 very, very deeply, the aspirants of these days are much more intelligent, much more knowledgeable, much more skilled people. In our days, the saving grace was, there was no private sector jobs. So, even IIT IIMs also, lots of people in my batch. I am an ordinary MSc Physics, but with me there were so many IITians and IIMs, because there was no private sector opportunity. So, but once post LPG is liberalization, privatization, globalization, opportunities increased. And we also see the quality of the people who take the exams are extremely, because your process is so difficult for selection. So these are brilliant people and they have the passion to do something. They will succeed wherever they are. And now that the opportunities are also more, people would like to leave. I think 79 batch, my own batch, probably created the history first time. I think people left in almost more than 25 people left. Once LPG happened, they all left. They were all able to get absorbed into other institutions. So, to that extent, I think what our Vachana says, Illi Saluvanu, Allu Saluvare. So, they can survive there, they can thrive there. So, they are doing. So, to that extent, it really reflects on their. I'm very, very sure about, because I'm interacting with them every year, even now. I think now I'm looking forward to my next batch for mentoring. Especially I mentor the interview portions. By that time, the cream would have come. Extraordinary. They are far more brilliant than our batches used to. So, they also get so much easily opportunities elsewhere. They have to leave. About joining the politics, one is, in our system itself, you have to work with people. Whether join politics or whether you want to be contained in IAS. I will tell you one thing. I don't mix. I'm a very, you can call me a very, not antisocial, but unsocial. So, I don't really mix. I don't go to parties. I don't mix with people. I'm more comfortable mixing with poor people, okay. To be more precise, I'm not very comfortable meeting with rich people like you. I love poor people. I left Bellary in 19. I was DC Bellary in 93 to 95. Post my retirement in 2013, for some obvious reasons, some imminent reasons, I had to join JSW Foundation in 2013. That is 95, 18. Correct? 95, 2005, 2018 years. When I used to go to village, people used to recognize me as Akshar Vijaya DC. I had rolled out a total literacy mission. It was called Akshar Vijaya. People, I had to work with the people. Yeah, I was almost like a volunteer, not a DC. We all used to sit on the ground. People remember. So we work with the people. People remember you. Since you learn to work with the people, if they offer a political career, I think it is their thing. But one thing that with all my things, I was very approachable. People used to, the other bad habit of mine, I'm sorry, as a de-stressor was my shuttle. I had a jumped very high and fell and I wrongly fell and I broke my leg and I was under plaster. People used to happily walk into I was the bedridden in my bedroom. People used just to come into my bedroom, tell their problems. So that was the type of person I was. Anybody could walk into my bedroom also. No questions asked. Police constables were all just, the DC house they put something. They were all, I was so open. But I always felt that if a person has a problem, he would be more comfortable to share it or go to a politician and narrate than come to an IAS officer. Even a person like me who wanted to be more humbler than him, always approachable, never used to lose my temper, but they are more comfortable talking to a politician. So to that extent, there is something in them which I don't know how to quantify it or qualify it. So that is something, and if that you have, probably you can judge. I don't think I have that. So if you have that, I knew that people go to a politician first, and they prefer them, and ultimately they may, if they want to still come, they may come to you. But if there's a given an option, they would like to go to you. So to that extent, the political system has established